Guten Morgen. And this is Yuram Advez on the first white line. So the Mishnah, we're in long Agadata about start off because Mida Keneged Mida, like sotah. And the Mishnah brought a few more examples of Mida Keneged Mida. Some of them Lera, some of Taiva. And the next one we're up to now is Avshalom. The one before, we had the first one was about Shimshon, and Agav that came long Agadata about Tomor. Over there came an Agav, because it talked about Timnos, by Yered, and Oilet Timnosa. So then we zerch the whole bonus about Tomor. And now we go back to the Mishnah, which is Avshalom. Avshalom also has Mida Keneged Mida, and the Mishnah says because of his hair. Avshalom is Goa Besaro. He was arrogant with his hair, and at the end he was hung by his hair. Tan Rabbanan Avshalom. I just highlighted only the psukim, not what's being said, but psukim only. Avshalom Besaro Moritz Shenema Avshalom Lahaya Ish Yafeh Uvagalchos Rosho Vayom Miketz Yomim Liyom Mashay Galak Mikvar Allah Ki Kaved Allah Vigilcho V'Shakal Esar Rosho Masayim Shkolim Ve'Evan HaMelech. When Avshalom, there was no one as beautiful as Avshalom, and when he was we cut his hair once the Yomim sounds like once a year. So then the Gemara learns out from this about Nazir Shalom, and when he's allowed to cut his hair. So when it would be too heavy for him, so it doesn't sound like he was a Nazir. Pashtas sounds okay. You can't talk about the pasuk if he was a Nazir or not. But anyway, it's not the sugya of the Gemara over here. Just he had very beautiful hair. When it would be very heavy, so then he would cut it. And V'Shakal Saro Shomos Shkolim Even HaMelech would weigh 200 shkolim of the royal stone of an Even HaMelech. The Gemara throws in Dana Even Shan Sheitrei Ban Sheitzpori Shoklim Hem. That's the same size as the stone that Very and Sipor would use to weigh their shekel. That's a side point. We don't know what that is, I think, but it's called Even HaMelech. The main point of the Gemara is not about how much it weighed, but that it was very beautiful in this Goa Besaro. That's why he was hung by his hair, and the Gemara means the pasuk where you see that Shenemba Vayikra Avshalom Vayikore Avshalom Lefnei David. When he was, they had a war. There was a civil war, Avshalom against David. So over there it says that Avshalom happened upon the servants of David. Means the servants of David found Avshalom. Avshalom Rocheb al Pered. He had been riding on a mule. And it came under some big tree. That's called the Elah. They say elm tree. Elm, that's what they say. Elah is elm. He says, and it got caught in the tree. And he was suspended in the air. He got stuck with his hair into the tree, and the mule continued going, and he was stuck. So the first thing he would do was take his sword. He had a sword with him, and he would want to cut his hair in order to get loose. He took a sword and he wanted to cut his hair in order to jump down. But Tanat Rabbi Shmuel, it says that he saw Gehenim under him, so he didn't cut his hair. Means the pasuk was asking how come he didn't cut his hair in order to escape. So he saw Gehenim under him. So what
would fall in there.
Yeah, right. So therefore he didn't cut his hair. And then the Avadim of David came, and they called Yoav, like it says. And then they killed him. That's what said earlier in the Mishnah. They killed him. 10 Lumbios and 3 Shivatim. Vayirgaz Hamelach. It means the pasuk over here. Now it's going to dash all about Avshalom. Vayirgaz Hamelach. Vayam Laliyah Sashar. This is all the pasuk. Two lines of the pasuk. Vayirgaz Hamelach. Vayam Laliyah Sashar. This is when David eventually found out that Avshalom was killed. So he was very upset. Vayam Laliyah Sashar. Vayef Yekom Abalachto. And he went on the upper floor of the gate. I don't know what it means exactly. And he cried about the son of Shalom, and he said the following: B'ni Avshalom, B'ni Avshalom, Mi Yitain Musi Ani Tachtecha Avshalom, B'ni, my son of Shalom, my son of Shalom. Who will give my death instead of you? I'd rather die instead of you. Avshalom, B'ni. V'Amelach Loat Espanav V'Yizak Amelach Kol Gadol, B'ni Avshalom, B'ni. And the king covered his head, and he cried out. He was crying, he was screaming in a loud voice. My son, Avshalom, my son. And it says 8 times the word B'ni. B'ni Avshalom, B'ni Avshalom. And then again Avshalom, B'ni. And then again B'ni Avshalom, B'ni. Altogether 8 times. Hanitmanya B'ni, Lama. How come he said the word B'ni 8 times? Shiva Daskim, Shiva Madura Gehenim. Vidach, Ikadami the corporation Lagabi
What's the
Gufe.
shot if he says Benin takes him out of Gehenna?
He's davening. He's davening for his son.
It's an interesting way of doing
He's
And
with so much over his death.
it. I'm saying, but what's the idea of davening?
Because
That's
he's
called
my
the
son.
tefillah without nusach. You just say Benin.
Okay. Tosha talks about that. The Gemara says another place that Bro Mazaka Abba, but not Abba Mazaka Bro. Tosha says yes because of tefillah, not because of.
You bring a riot tefillah.
That's one shot. That's two shot. He says it's one point. So 7 of them brought him up from 7 levels of Gehenna. Means there are 7 Madura Gehenna. So he's in the bottom, all the way in the bottom. And David's 7 Beni, so brought him up. 7. The either have the 8th one. Vikadami the corporation Gabi Gufe. Vikadami the Isel Amadasi. Some say that it brought his head next to his body. I don't think it says openly that his head was cut off. But here it says that his head was cut off from his body, was severed, and David davened that they should become together. They should rejoin. I don't know what that means. I don't know what it means. I don't know the source that the person says that it was severed, and that was very important that his body should be together with his head. Some say the 8th one was to bring him to Olam Haba. It brings down that it says in the Elu Shalom Mechalek Olam Haba. Some say Avshalom, so they didn't hold it out. They held that the first one, the corporation of Gabi Gufe. So that was David's tefillah for his son Avshalom. The Gemara talks a little bit more about Avshalom. Avshalom lokach vayasav lo b'chayav. Avshalom had taken and made for him in his lifetime. The next line says, "Es matzevas Hashem be'emek hamelech." He made a monument, which we know today still is Yad Avshalom. And he made it's not a kever. It's not where he's buried. It says Yad Avshalom. In his lifetime, he had made a monument for himself to be a memorial. So first of all, it says Avshalom lokach. What does it mean? He took. You could say he took to the task, but the Gemara sees it as an extra word. Avshalom lokach. My lokach, what does that mean? That he did a bad business. Means the whole idea of rebelling was a bad issue. And the Gemara is darshaning it, not that it goes together to make the Yad Avshalom. Rashi says, Avshalom lokach lo as what does it say here? The test. As Hasrora Zos B'chayo. And also he made he did 2 things. But the Gemara is divided between the lokach. The lokach is not going on the monument that he made, but the whole business that he tried to take over the position of David, the Srora, so that was a bad lokach. And as Masevas Hashem Emek HaMelech, what is Hashem Emek HaMelech? The more is actually now Emek HaMelech. The Pashtat means it's in a valley. Emek HaMelech means the deep counsel. Emek, the depth. So Pashtra is the physical depth. There was a valley, but Gemara is actually from the deep counsel of the king. Who's the king? Hashem. And what means that Hashem orchestrated that this whole thing should happen. Of course, Avshalom had free will, and it was a bad choice, and he's punished for it. But the fact that he was given the opportunity to do it, that was a counsel of Hashem, because David over there it says that David was chayv in onish, and Hashem said, "I'm going to make evil from your own home," and that was Avshalom. Avshalom was the evil that came. So even though it was his own bechira, but Hashem had orchestrated it also. Agav, it brings down another drash also from Chanina Bapapa about the word Emek. We said Emek HaMelech. Yosef B'Davat similar Gemara by Yishlachem Emek Hebron. Over there it says that Yaakov sent Yosef to go visit the brothers, and he sent him from Emek Hebron, the depth of the Hebron. Over there also, Chanina Bapapa says it means the deep counsel. Amr Chanina Bapapa Be'etzam Mukesh also Tzadik Shekavah Hebron. Emek Hebron. Emek means the deep counsel. And Hebron is referring to the Tzaddik Shekavah b'Hebron. That's Avrohom. It means that Hashem told Avrohom that your children are going to be a Geber slow land. That's going down to Mitzrayim. Read this Mitzrayim, and this was all orchestrating that the Am Yisrael should go down to Mitzrayim. So when Yosef went to visit the brothers, so that Yaakov was doing it. He didn't know what he's doing, but Hashem was orchestrating that Yosef should eventually be sold to Mitzrayim, and then because of that, Yaakov went down to Bnei Yisrael. That's the whole development that Am Yisrael came to Mitzrayim. So by Yishlachem Emek Hebron, Emek again means the Omek Katzasam. That was a side point, Yosef B'Dova, but we are in the middle of Avshalom. Over there it says he made a monument. Why did he make a monument? Because he said he has no sons. Since he has no sons, he wanted to make a monument for himself, and he made Yad Avshalom. The Gemara says he did have children. He didn't have sons. Pasuk says he did. He had 3 sons and a daughter. So why does he make a monument? Because he has no sons. Because he didn't have a son
who's fitting to rule, even though he thought he's going to be the king, but he didn't have a son who's going to be able to succeed him. So he made the Yad Shalom. That they all died, even though another step. One Torah says he didn't have a son fitting for kingship. The other Torah says that he had sons, but they all died. Why did they die? So we would have thought because of the sin of the whole rebellion. But here it says that he died. They died earlier. That's what it says. They made a Yad Shalom before he rebelled. So it says because he burned down the grain of a fellow man. It says, I don't know. It sounds like a terrible onish. I don't know what it is, but it says if somebody burns down the grain of his fellow man, he's not going to leave a son to inherit him. I don't know what the Midah Connected Midah is over there. And he did that. He had burned down the who of somebody else, of who? Of Yoav. Over there, the story was that after Yoav, after he had come back, first he ran away because he had killed Amnon. He killed his brother, and David was very angry, and Avshalom had to run away because of that. And then Yoav orchestrated that king. And the Yoav didn't come. So Avshalom had a way to get Yoav to come to see him. It says over there that he burned the tvu of Yoav. What was the story? The Siv. He burned down Yoav's field. And that's how Yoav came to complain to him. Why'd you burn down my field? And then he told him, because I wanted to see you. He didn't come. And I want you to get me to my father. And then Yoav orchestrated that he should be able to go to see David also. And then what happened? He rebelled against his father and he made the whole rebellion. But this was the part of the story where he wanted to be able to see his father. So here's the pasuk. He said to his servants, Avshalom said to his servants, see, Chalkas Yoav, the portion of Yoav, the field of Yoav that's next to me. And over there are barley's growing. Go and burn it down. And they burnt it down. So because he burnt it down, that's why he lost all his children in his lifetime. That he didn't even leave any children to inherit him. That's why he made Yad Shalom, because he had no sons, even though he had sons, but they died. And this is the reason that they died.
Who says this?
I'm sorry?
Who said that of him?
Of this thing. The Mishnah continues, also Midah Keneged Midah for the good. By the bear brought down about Shimshon. Sotah, of course, is our subject, and then Shimshon, and then Avshalom. And then it says also, good people, that they got schar, Midah Keneged Midah. The first one is Miriam. The Mishnah says because she waited for Teisat Savach or so to watch what's happening, to make sure, take care of Moshe, and when he was put into the Suf, and because of that, Am Yisrael waited for her. When she wasn't able to continue, so Am Yisrael waited for her 7 days. The Master Midami is a Midah Keneged Midah. It's much more. She waited a small while, as many minutes as it was, to wait by Moshe to see what happens to him until Bas Paro came and took the baby. So, and here, Am Yisrael waited 7 days, much more. It's not Midah Keneged Midah, it's much more. Amar Abaya, so Abaya edits the Mishnah, and not to say that by Tova it's also the same thing. To say by Tova is not the same thing, that the Tova is much better. So he puts into the Mishnah, he changes the word. Not that not V'chein Linyan Tova, but Linyan Tova ain't okay. That is different, it's not the same. By Midah Ra, it's Midah Keneged Midah. By Midah Tova, it's even better. Amalei Rav doesn't say that. You see very often that Abai it's okay to change a word, and the Rav objects. Rav says keep to the words. Amalei Rav, V'chein Linyan Tova Katani, it says the same thing. We don't want to amend the Mishnah. Elam Rav Hachi Katani, V'chein Linyan Tova de Bosa Midah. The Mishnah only means in the aspect of being Midah Keneged Midah as far as the quality of what's happening, but as far as the quantity, then it could be more. Abaye thought that the Mishnah Midah Keneged Midah includes also the amount, not only the quality of the food, but also the quantity. So he says you have to change the Mishnah. But Rabbi says that just means as far as Midah Keneged Midah waiting, she waited, so then they waited for her. But how much? But that's another point, that the quantity could be much more. But the Mishnah is not coming to say the quantity. The Mishnah is coming to say the type of payment. The type of payment is the same currency as the act that was done. So if it was done good, a good thing about waiting, so then she gets paid also waiting. But how much? That could be Midah Kova Meruba.
Meaning that it's much more than the negative.
Yes, but a negative that's not the point of the Mishnah. The point of the Mishnah is not to talk about how much. The point of the Mishnah is to talk about that it's the same kind. It's paid back in kind. But how much? That's a different point. It's not our Mishnah. Now the Gemara goes on to dash in the whole parasha about Miriam, and the blue is just the psukim, and the Gemara is going to dash in. It says, L'deya maya salo. And the Gemara is going to dash in each word. But his sister, Miriam, stood from a distance to know what is going to be done to him. They put him into the and she stayed on the side to see what's going to happen. The whole pasuk is referring a remez to the Shechina. It's talking about Miriam, but the Gemara is going to dash. Nothing is talking about the Shechina. The Chor means to say that the Shechina was with Moshe. I think that's what the pasuk is of the Gemara. The Gemara is saying that the Shechina was with Moshe, and he's going to bring a pasuk to show that each one of these words, 7 words, all of them are going to refer to the Shechina. You find this word in relation to Hashem. So the Shechina. So Hashem came by Yisatsev. So you see the word by Yisatsev. And the Gemara is saying that's talking about the Shechina also. That's interesting. That also needs explanation. It's talking about the Shechina. So you have to know the drash on that it's talking about the Shechina also. Hashem is seen to me from a distance. So you see that the word Meirachok is referring to Hashem. I think it's a mistake. It should be not Ladas, but L'deya. Hashem. So you see the word of Deya is referred to by Hashem. Interesting, because it says Ma and Hashem next to each other. So the word Ma is also a reference to the Shechina. So the word Asiya is also used in a reference to Hashem. And Lo, Hashem Shalom. So you have the word Lo next to Hashem, you have the word Yeyosa next to Hashem, the word Ma next to Hashem, Deya next to Hashem.
All these are
all the passages that says by Miriam, but Teisatzav, Achoso, Meirachok, L'deya, Ma, Yeyosa, Lo, and the Gemara dashes each one you find in reference to the Shechina. So I think the Gemara is saying that the Shechina was with Moshe. To go on
Moshe with Miriam.
What?
Why not with Miriam? Because she's the one
we're dashing that Miriam here is not Miriam. Miriam is the Shechina. Of course, Miriam is the Pshat. But in the Drash was saying that it's referring to the Shechina. So I think to say that I think they were saying that the Shechina was with Moshe. Not only Miriam was with Moshe, Shechina was with Moshe.
I'm a little confused. I thought we were looking for Schar and Onish, and we're looking for the Schar of Miriam. So we're
not
looking
in that subject anymore. We're not there. We're talking about Miriam. We're going to talk about we have a whole Gemara about Mitzrayim now. It's not that we're talking about the point of the Schar that they waited for her. That's the one point. She waited. Of course she waited, and that's why she got Schar. But now we're in the Olam Hadrash. Now we're going someplace else. Maybe you're right that it's talking about that the Shechina was with Miriam. With Miriam, I don't think that's what's being said, but the Gemara continues now all about the story of Mitzrayim. It's beautiful that it came out, even though 2 days late. We're still 2 days behind. We're still in Pesach, and we have the whole Gemara about the Mitzrayim here. The beginning of Parashat Shmos, that a new king came at Shelo Yadas Yosef. Rabbi Shmuel was a new king. So everyone knows the Machlokes. Rabbi Shmuel Chadam Chadash Mamash Chadam Mashen Eschashuk Zeirosov. Some say it was actual new king. Some say it was the same king, but he made new policy. Madam Chadash Mamash Siv Chadash. The simple pshat. It says a new king. Madam Mashen Eschashuk Zeirosov. Why doesn't he want to say that it's actually a new king? The Lok Siv Ayamas Vayimloch. Usually, when it says such a thing, it says the king died, then a new king died, a new king reigned. It doesn't say that terminology over here, so it sounds a little bit like it's not actually a new person. Ashelo Yadas Yosef. He didn't know Yosef. So if it means, I think that it's only going on one mandama, the one who says that it was not actually a new king, so he knew Yosef. So why does it say if it's a new king? So he didn't know Yosef. But if it's the same king, so why does it say he didn't know Yosef? He made himself as if he doesn't. He acted as if he doesn't know him. He didn't have the Kakoros Hatov that he owed to Yosef. So he acted as if he didn't know him. He said to his nation, Bnei Yisrael are very many. Let's scheme against them. He's the one who started the whole thing, and that's why he was punished first during the Makros. Like he says this pasuk, he's the one who said to his nation, they didn't come to him, he came to them, and he said, we have to take care of this problem. So since he started, he was the first one who was smitten with the Makros. I think it's talking about, so when it talks about everyone being punished with the Sfardeya, it says you, your nation, your servants. So it says you first. Since he's the one who started up first, so that's why he was punished first. Let's scheme to him. So he's talking about the whole nation. Should have said Lahem, all Bnei Yisrael. Why does it say singular? It should have said plural. Rab Chanina, Bo and Chakim the Moshe and Shal Yisrael, referring to Hashem. Let's outsmart Hashem. What was he screaming? Because he said that Hashem always does Mida Keneged Mida as our whole subject. They knew that also. The Mitzvah also knew that Hashem does Mida Keneged Mida. Let's do something that he won't be able to do Mida Keneged Mida. But many don't know. How should we judge the Bnei Yisrael? How should we punish them? I want to get rid of them. I want to scheme against Bnei Yisrael. What should we do? If we're going to do fire, then Hashem will punish us with fire. Hashem is going to come with fire. Hashem judges with fire. So that's a dangerous thing to do. If we're going to come with sword against Bnei Yisrael, so Hashem comes with a sword also against people. So that's dangerous. Let's do something with water against them. Then Hashem's not going to be able to punish us. Hashem swore he's not going to bring a marvel to the world anymore. So he's not going to punish us with water. So we're safe. They thought that they outsmarted Hashem.
They were Talmidei Chachamim.
Those days you don't need Talmid Chacham to know Psukim.
After this, it brings the pasuk also. Could have been the pasuk in the Chumash, but it brings over here the pasuk in Yishnayim that it's Hashem swore he's not going to bring a marvel anymore. But they made a mistake. Hashem just swore he's not going to bring a marvel on the whole world, but he could bring a marvel on one nation. And another thing, Hashem's not going to bring it. He's not going to bring a marvel to the people, but Hashem could bring the people into the water. The ocean is big enough that they should come, and that was with the Yamsuf. They came into the Yamsuf. Hashem didn't bring the marvel; they fell into the Yamsuf. Who told them to come inside? That Mitzrayim were running towards it, towards the Yam. This is not they were trying to run away, but they still were running towards the water. This also says about Mida Keneged Mida. Maisa was Mida Keneged Mida, that they punished Am Yisrael with water. They threw them into the Nile, and therefore they were punished with water. With this thing that they had planned against them, that they had acted wicked against them. And the drush is, let's see in the second what the drush is, but there is a bishlu banis bashlu in the same pot that they cooked, they were cooked in. Means Mida Mamash Mida Keneged Mida. They were right that Hashem does Mida Keneged Mida. They thought here they could outsmart. No, they weren't able to. And but there is bishlu banis bashlu in the same pot. We have already drushes for Shvishal Pesach. This is the Bishlu Banis Bashlu. May Mashma. How do you see in this pasuk something about being cooked in a pot? The Haizad Lishna the Gderu, the Chsiv, Yazad Yaakov Nazir. This word Hashazadu. So Pashta means Lashon of Mazid, wickedness. But the Morris Dashni also finds Lashon of cooking. Like it says, Yazad Yaakov Nazir. Yaakov cooked the dish over there, the Adashim. So the word Zadu means to cook. The same thing that they had cooked on them. They wanted to cook when they swallowed the water, so to speak. They were cooked in the same pot. They were cooked in that pot. They Mida Keneged Mida. There are three people that were in that scheme about throwing Bnei Yisrael into the water. Bilam, the Eov, the Yisrael, they were all there. They were Pharaoh's advisors, and they were part of the scheme, or they were invited to the meeting about how to kill Am Yisrael. Bilam sheyatz nerag, Eov sheshasak nidin b'yisurim, Yisrael shebarach zachul b'bnei banav sheyashvu b'lishkas hagazis. Bilam is the one who gave the Eitzah to throw them into the water. Eov was quiet, he didn't say anything, and Yisrael ran away. And each one was paid. Bilam sheyatz nerag, Bilam at the end was killed because of this. And eventually he was killed at the end by the story of giving the Eitzah to Balak. So he was killed over there. It says when I think that was by that was in times of Moshe Rabbeinu still.
Yeah. Before he died, he says, "You go take care of Midian."
I think it's supposed to be in Yeshua maybe. And Eov was quiet. So he was judged by Yisurim. They say a word. I don't know if it's a Pasha. I don't know if it's. They say a word. I don't know if it's Mamash Pasha. That they say that Eov was quiet. Why was he quiet? Because that's not going to help anyway. So they say a word. I don't like to put the Vartlach inside, but they say that he was judged with Yisurim. Why? Because when he had Yisurim, so he cries out. What does it help to cry out? And you have Yisurim, doesn't help. But when it hurts, you cry out. So if it would have hurt you, you should have cried out. I don't know if that's I don't think it's Pashup Shat, but that's the. So Eov that was quiet, he was judged with Yisurim. Here it says that's the reason why you got Yisurim. The whole Eov It's interesting. When you learn Eov, you have to put down this Gemara. Eov says, "Why am I punished? What did I do wrong?" Eov says, "That's what he did wrong. That he was quiet when he had. So he thought he didn't do anything wrong. That's called doing wrong. To be quiet, he should have done something. Well, Israel ran away. Israel Shabarach, he also wasn't able to stop Paro, but at least he ran away. And what happened? Zacham ibn Ibanav she'ashvu b'lishkas hagazis, that his descendants came into Am Yisrael and they were even on Sanhedrin. Tenema u'mishpachos ofrim yoshvei ya'beitz tirosim shemosim suchasim heima hakinim havaim mechamas avi beis reichav. So it's talking about the pasuk in Divrei Yamim about the yichus over there. Hard pasuk. It sounds like different families, Tirosim, Shemosim, Suchasim, but the more dash is what each one means. But it says something about the Kinim. Who's this Kinim? Ukisiv, Ubenei Keni, Chosein Moshe. There is something, and the more dash that it has something to do with these Chachamim, the Mishpachos Sofrim, they were Chatemi the Chachamim. And since it says Keni, that's the Kinim, that's the family over there. Ubenei Keni, Chosein Moshe. So you see that Yisrael is called Keni, and his descendants were zochah to be in the Sanhedrin.
Let me say that. Wait, I'm confused. With one who killed Zimri and no,
Pinchas?
Pinchas. He married to a daughter
Yes.
of Yitro, right?
Yes.
That was the time of the Shvatim. You, whose father.
It's not a contradiction that he had descendants that were in Lishkas HaGazim.
No, so I'm saying maybe it wasn't only Moshe's children; it was also Pinchas's children that were in the Sanhedrin. And was any descendants from Yitro were in this gather of being serving in the Lishkas HaGazim.
I'm not following. It says here that Yisrael had descendants who were Lishkas HaGazim.
Right, so I'm saying they could have been from the sons of Yitro.
What could have been
The
some-
sons of Pinchas.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, who are these sons? That
He had
I'm trying to
descendants.
I'm trying to understand that pasuk in Divrei Yomim.
It doesn't say the whole Yichud
Yeah.
over there, but it says that he had such descendants who were
Okay,
it doesn't
so
say
we're not
they were
getting any
Pinchas or not.
clue who they are, but we just know that
They were from
they're
Yisrael.
coming from Yitro.
It says over here that was the problem, that Paro was scared that there's so many of the Jews that they're gonna war against us and leave. Well, they're gonna leave. They'll leave is not a problem. That wouldn't be a problem. The Gemara is saying could be in the Pshat there was a problem, but the Gemara is asking that it should have said that we're gonna have to leave. If they're gonna war against us, we're gonna be expelled from our own land. So I should have said that. It really means that. He says that the Gemara really means that we're going to have to leave. And it doesn't want to say it because it's a bad thing. So like a euphemism, that it changes the word in order not to say a bad thing about himself. But they really mean to say that they're going to be so many and there's going to be a war and they're going to join our enemies and we're going to have to leave. That's how the Gemara learns the Pasuk and the Pasuk. I don't know, Pasuk, the Drash, but the Pasuk would be that they're going to leave and they didn't want the Jews to leave. They wanted to have them as slaves, whatever, and not even not slaves, mamish. They had to, before they subjected them in order that they wanted to kill them. Now they wanted. Okay, maybe this Pashup Shad, I don't know what to say, but the Gemara says that Valam and Oris really means Valino. We're going to have to leave. But you see, all of Sarei Misim. They made Sarei Misim. Either means tax collectors, the taxing of the bricks that they had to make. The Manan or Sobasib some. So Aleim Boylade. Why does it have a Yasim Love? The Pashup Shad, all these things, whenever it says singular is the nation. The nation is called one unit. But the Gemara is asking that it should have said Aleihem, the people, in the plural. Why does it say singular? It should have said in plural. That they brought some kind of a brick maker, whatever the kind of tool they use in order to make a brick, and they hung it on the neck of Paro. Means Paro himself said, I'm also going to build. And everyone has to build. Anybody, even the king is going to build. So then no one could say no. Once the king is building, no one could say that it's not for me. Anybody that said that I'm too finicky, I can't do this, I don't build bricks. You're not more than Paro. You're not more delicate than Paro is. So Paro is building bricks. You also should build a brick. Sorry, misim, davashem mesim. The more dashing the word mesim is misim means like tax. Some have the word of mius. The Targum says it means mius. That made life disgusting. But the more dashing davashem mesim, something that makes them. The fact that it made them, that this is the thing that coerced them to have to do work. The brick that they put on Paro that forced everybody else to also have to make bricks. So this was a scheme that they used, and of course, Paro after the first brick, that was it. He took it off, went back onto his throne. But this was just in order to get everybody obligated to work. Again, the Gemara is always dashing that the Siddur said it in singular, in plural. Why does it say singular? Pashut means the nation, but the Gemara wants another reason why it says in the singular. In order to afflict them with their work. The answer is that they afflicted Paro means this temporary thing, the one brick, the one day that he worked. So that was in order to afflict Paro, in order to make the Am Yisrael to work. So the Gemara puts into a few psukim, first in the Yisimu al-Love, and the Misim, and the Anoso. All these three things the Gemara says is referring to Paro in order that to get everybody to work. They said nobody's exempt. Even the king has to work.
I mean, is this the trick that everybody's playing in this every day? And it seems to this day, all the politicians use this system constantly. Nothing's changed.
I'm not familiar with the system.
You have to know politics.
I mean, once in a while, look at the newspaper, you see it. You don't have to go anywhere. But they do. They make themselves look like fake with the people. But in all truth, they told you for themselves exactly what's going on in the world. To this day, it's nothing.
But here the point is that they made himself also that he's in the working. Not only that he cares, but he didn't just talk. He did something to show that he's.
Yeah, but everybody does. They make themselves somehow. They do something very significant for the day, for the photographs, for the newscast.
Okay, so that's
and then
it.
back to no.
That's
Paro's
scheme.
Paro's technique.
Back to Paro and Bilam. But even Aram Miskanos the Paro, they made the Aram Miskanos. They translated it as treasure cities. Rav Shmuel Chad was the Mars Dashni Chad Amar Shemasakinos as Balayan, Chad Amar Shememaskinos as Balayan. One says the Lashon of Sakana, and one says Lashon of Miskin. So Sakana means danger. Miskin would mean poor. So either that it endangers the one who does it, that it's dangerous. Rashi has two pshat. The simple pshat, I think, is the second pshat that it means the Am Yisrael, that it's going to cause the ones who are building, it puts them in danger. The Chadam Hashem Maskino says Balayan that it makes them poor. Damamar called Osik Babinyan Mismaskin. That's not a good field to build. A builder is not a good field. It causes poverty. Either causes danger. A person could build and he falls off when he's building on a high story, so he might fall and lose his life. And in any case, the Gemara says that it causes poverty in maskin. So that was the issue of building that Am Yisrael was put to, and that's dangerous. Thank you. The cities are called Pisom and Ramses. It says as Pisom and Ramses. They have to build the two cities of Pisom and Ramses. What is the Gemara is, of course, it's Pashut is two separate cities, but the Gemara is going to dash that it's one. And one is the real name, and one is more of an adjective. That really the name is Pisom. Why is it called Ramses? Lashon of Misroseis, that it gets torn apart. The real name is Ramses. Pisom, Rishon, Pitahom Bolo. That it was Pitahom, that it was swallowed up, that it kept on getting swallowed up by the earth. It was, and the point in either pshat is that they have to rebuild it the whole time. They didn't build it, they didn't have any
destruction.
And they say that that's the real, that's a real affliction. They're working, and that's not accomplishing anything. If they would build, at least it would be some accomplishment. It would be something satisfaction, some content. But they built for nothing. Either that it was broken down, it would break down, or that it would get swallowed up. As they would afflict them, they would increase more and more. So it should have said in the past tense, it should have said in the past tense, why does it say Hashem is talking that they're going to continue more and more, and that's like it's not only it's not just telling you a narration, but it's telling you the words that the Shekhinah said. But Yakusim of Bnei Yisrael, they became disgusted from Bnei Yisrael. The more dashes, Malam shall you don't name the coats and more dashing, or Yakus Lashon of coats, that they were like thorns. Kilo I named Gufam Malayim Kotsim Berosim Es Yisrael Pavim Berabim, that they were as if they were pins and needles, that they were like thorns in their eyes. It's not the Pashut Pshat. Pashut Pshat is Vayikus was disgusted, but the more dashing Lashon of coats like a thorn. They were like thorns in their eyes. But Avidim Esraim Es Bnei Yisrael B'Forech. The Mitzrim made the Jews work before the Pashut is hard work.
Bricha is translated as hard work.
Almost 9, breaking apart the back-breaking labor. That's probably the Pashut. And the Rashi is Perach with a soft mouth. What's a soft mouth? that they first told them, like it says by Paro, everyone's working. Here it says that they also gave them money, they paid them to work, and they didn't come on right away tough. That was their scheme to first be soft before it said about patriotism. Everybody has to work, even the king is working. Then it said about giving them money, whatever the scheme they used in order to get them to work. By they embittered their lives with hard work, with clay and bricks. We need the X word over here, Gomer. We need basada and all kinds of work. First it says they work with bricks. So it says first they did chomil veinim. That says exactly what they did, bricks, and then it says basada. Also, they made it slowly more and more. First, they made them only bricks, then they had all kinds of works that they had to do. All the work was before. That everyone had to do all kinds of work. I think that's the drash over here. That they had to do all kinds of work. They didn't distinguish men's work and women's work. Everyone had to do every kind of work.
I thought they did daf with the.
So they say dafka the opposite. The Marshal thing over here says that it means kalavodasim. They had to do all kinds of work. That's the drash over here. Or else you don't. I think what's the drash? If you say the word is kalavodasim, that means all kinds of work. So they didn't distinguish. Everyone had to do all kinds of work. If it means dafka the other work, so then you have to know what the drash is. Where do you see? Where do you see it in the pasuk?
I mean, it seems to add to the futility because people had to do with things that they weren't good at.
Yes.
They had to do
Also.
women's work or
Also.
Questions also only, that's the question.
not
to
only.
discuss.
So the way it's quoted always is that they made each one do the other kind of work. But I think according to the drash, according to the source over
Right.
here, it says that they had to do everything.
A little bit like buildings that are going to be destroyed. So all their work was not
Right.
traveling.
That's another point over here. Another point. That's one point that it was not for any purpose, and he was saying that it was not that it was work they weren't used to, and it's not they're not built for it.
Right.
That everyone has to agree over here that the word perach over here doesn't mean perach. It's talking about kalavodasim already, so it's not talking about something that they convinced them to do in a nice way, talking nice or giving money. So everyone agrees that this perach, even though the person before. The parach could have meant the perach, but over here everybody agrees that it means bepricha. In the reward of the righteous woman in that generation, that's why Am Yisrael was redeemed. And it's going to go to the famous Gemara that they're the ones who encouraged Puruvu. At the time they went to draw water, the women went to draw water, so Hashem would prepare that in their buckets they would get also small fish. The shav was machzah mayim with machzah dagim. It was mamish a lot of fish. Half a bucket would be water, half a bucket would be fish. Well, both the shovs they would put on the fire 2 pots. Achash al cham and v'achash al dagim. They would make hot water and they would make fish, cooked fish. They would take it to the husbands who work in the field. They would wash them and anoint them and give them tea, then give them to drink. In the Skakos land, and they would have relations. They would encourage them to have relations, even though they were working so hard. By the gvul, by the boundaries. Pasuk in Tehillim. I don't remember the rest of the pasuk over here. Tehillim Samach. The wrong brings in this, but the wrong brings all pasuk. I didn't realize that it's all one pasuk. The Gemara says it over here. Maybe I'll highlight it already. Tishkevon. Wrong one. Okay, it's not letting me. Tishkevon ben Shabbatayim, and then the pasuk is Kan Fayom Lechba B'Kesef V'Yosef B'Chavra Yak Chavutz. I wrote the pasuk shot is when you are lying, sitting, living between the boundaries of Eretz Yisrael, you're like the feather, the wings of a dove that is covered with silver, and like her wings that are covered with yellowish or greenish kind of gold. But the more naturally that's referring to the women And tishkavod means actually to lie, and it means that they had relations. Tishkavod means that they lie between the gevula, so the place in the field that they were able to have sanua, that they had two boundaries they were able to lie in between, and therefore they had relations. And at the end, Zoch Yisrael Abizas Hayit Mitzrayim. Then there was Zocha to all of the loot, the spoils of Mitzrayim. Shenema, because of that, the end of the pasuk says that they got all this gold and silver. They went to the Gula, to Rechush Gadol, and that's the schus of the women who encouraged to have children.
Arutz is a special kind of gold, which obviously is very valuable.
Right.
Remember we learned this when we were learning Tehillim,
Yeah.
and we didn't really, I didn't get the Peshat, this is a good Peshat. Yeah.
We said the Pshat is talking about Am Yisrael being in Eretz Yisrael, and the Gemara is dashing it about in Mitzrayim that in the schar of that they got the gold. The Chimshim Masab was supposed to when they would conceive, they would go home. The Chimshim Magias Manam Ola they and Hochos of the oldest Pasada when it would come time to give birth, they would go again to the field Tachas at Tapuach, because they couldn't give birth in the city because then the Mitzvah would kill the sons, kill the boys. So they went under the trees. I don't know why Dafka Tapuach. Maybe it's more. I don't know why Dafka Tapuach. Shenem Tachas at Tapuach or Aticha. And our Aticha Rashi says means that the Hashem will arouse them to be born. Means that's what they were. That's what Hashem made them be born. Hashem was sent from heaven. Sounds like Malachim that would the mothers couldn't stay there to take care of them. So Hashem sent Malachim to clean them and improve them. Mashpir like the midwife that takes care of the blood. So the Malachim took care. On the day that you were born, thank you. On the day that you were born, so your umbilical cord was not cut and you weren't washed to be smooth. So Hashem took care of all of them. And Hashem would bring for them two balls, some kind of a mass of oil and honey, and that's what they would be nourished with. Shenema by indicate Vash Mishel, Hashem and Mechal Mishor says Vash and Shemen. Hashem brought these two things for the babies to be nourished from. The Chivin Shemakiv and Bahem Mitzrayim, born the Hargon. When the Mitzvah would realize that children over there out in the fields that would come to kill them. The Nasal and Nason of Ron Bakaka, a miracle happened and they were swallowed up on the ground. The Mitzvah couldn't find them, but they saw they were on the ground, so they wanted to plow them down. The Mitzvah would bring oxen to plow over them. That upon me the plow was plowed, but Hashem made that they shouldn't be affected. After the Mitzvah left, then they would pop out like the grass grows on the field. So those they would be batzbeitz. I don't know the word literally, but it means to come up. They were multiplied like the tzamach chasada, like the growth, like the vegetation. So too, they came out of the ground. They waited until they became big. Then they were too big to kill already. So they came in flocks to their homes. That you got big. You got big. And you came by Adayim. So Adayim means like jewelry or ornaments. But the Morris Dashni, not Adi, but Eider. They would come in flocks. They would come in groups. All the children that were born in the fields. When Hashem revealed himself, there was a Gilui Shechina about a Kriyas Yamsuf, so they're the ones who recognized him first because they knew Hashem from olden time when they were first born. What's Zeh? Zeh means you could point. Zeh. What's Zeh means you know him already before. The other Jews, they didn't know Hashem from before in such a great level, but they, the ones who knew Hashem from the Vash and the Shemen.
Vash and?
The Shemen, that Hashem supported them with Vash and Shemen, and the whole upbringing was miraculous. So they knew Hashem. They already saw Hashem. The pasuk continues. The king said to the midwives that they should kill the children. So who were they? Who was the? Doesn't say. It just says Shipra and Pua. As Pashup Shad is different women that we don't know about. But the Gemara says we do know who they are. Some say it was a mother and a daughter. Some say it was a mother and a daughter-in-law. Miriam. It surely was Yocheved. She was the mother. The question is, who was the other one? Who was the Pua? Either was Miriam, or it was his daughter-in-law, which was Elisheva, who was the wife of Aaron. So it was Yocheved.
Only 3 years older than Moshe.
Mm-hmm. And you say Miriam was Miriam, yeah, everybody.
He was 7 years old.
Hmm.
But she wasn't married. She wasn't married.
Why did she
And
have
how
to be
old was
married?
Aaron was born?
Aaron was 2 years older than Moshe.
Why should she be married? Why should
Miriam, you don't
Miriam be
know, but-
married? Why
She
would,
doesn't have to be. If it was Miriam, it didn't have to be married. But if it's a daughter-in-law, that means she's married already.
So you're pointing out that she was 3 years old
I don't know.
and that she was
I don't know,
also
Aaron
married.
was
already.
Maybe she was much older. I don't know.
Seven, you said. Yeah, she was on
It doesn't
7
matter
or
how
less.
Miriam was. But if it's a daughter-in-law, and she's Aaron's, and Aaron was older than Moshe by 3 years.
much
So
So
she
she
could have been
was,
very old. That her husband was only 2 years old.
but you're saying that she would be 3 also. 3, she could be 3. The
She
question is
could
that.
be fine.
But
But
yeah,
her
but saying,
husband was 3.
Tani Kamal Dama, or it could be the one who's eventually going to be.
Okay.
But you're saying it doesn't. Okay.
No, it could be. Eventually his daughter-in-law. That's good.
Tani Kamal Dama Isho Bita. This is here Machlok Shav and Shmuel, but there's a Bryce like the one who says that it's Miriam. The Tanya Shifra Zuyechevet. The one Shifra Shem Shaper says Avlad. The Varacha Shifra Shapor Rav Yisrael B'Yamel. Pua Zu Miriam. Lamanik Shmuel Pua Shoisa Poa. Varacha Poa Shoisa Poa B'Ruach Hakodesh. Okay, I'm going too much. But the point we want to have is that Shifra is Yocheved and Pua is Miriam. So that's the Bryce that says like the Mandama that says that Pua was the daughter, not the daughter-in-law. But to go slowly, who's Shifra? Who's Pua? Shifra is Yocheved. Why is she called Shifra? Shem Shaper as Avlad. The version of Shapir. She makes the Vlad beautiful. She takes care. Lashon of Shapir, that she takes care of the children. The version of not with the shin but poru. But Shifra is what lashon of Shepora, that Am Yisrael multiplied in her days because she's the one, because of her, that she was responsible for making the people be able, the children, the boys shouldn't get killed. Pua is Miriam, and why is she called Pua? Pua shoisa Poa. Poa means to talk.
There was a kind of poo-poo, like little, little statements, that little utterances which made the babies happy.
But the word Pua means to talk.
Does it?
The word Pua means to talk. Poa also, we have the other places, the place where the Gemara says Pua and it means to talk or screaming. Pua, why is she called Pua? She spoke in Ruach HaKodesh, not to the children, to coo them, but she had Ruach HaKodesh. What do you see? She says something in Ruach HaKodesh. What was that? Valmeris, I see the image of Taylor Ben Shem Moshe Yisrael, that in the future my mother's going to give birth to a child who's going to save Am Yisrael. She had Ruach HaKodesh about Moshe being born. The Gemara is going to say that later. And she encouraged her father to take back the mother to have relations because Moshe Ben is going to be born. The pasuk continues, Vayomer, Yaled Chen, Esei Vrios, and it says over there of Noyim. Or we send Allah of Noyim. When you're going, he told the midwives that when you're going to help the woman to give birth, you see by the of Noyim, the birthing chair, then you should, if it's a son, you should kill him. Why is it called of Noyim? Simon God of the drash over here. Simon God Masalhem, Amalahem, Bishasha, Kavas, Leila, Direchosem, it's none of those Kavanim. So this Gemara is surely a drash, so it can't be Pashup Shad at all. Can't take it literally because you don't need the king to tell the midwives some advice about how do women give birth. They're doing it, tens of times a day, and he's giving them advice about something that's like every time happens. So you can't take this literally. But the words that it says is when a woman's ready to give birth, so then her thighs become cold like stones, and that's the symptom they're ready to give birth. And then you'll know when she's going to give birth, and you should be able to see right away. If it's a boy, if not, they might give birth when you're not available, when you're not there right then. That's the symptom to know that they're ready to give birth. That's why it's called Avnoyim, because they become, the thighs become cold like a stone. Is the Amri, Kedachsiv, is different. Yes, Rashi says is the Amri, he says something else. What does he say? I remember Rashi says something else, then is the Amri, Davarachim. He says something about a Davarach over here. It's similar to is the Amri, but it's not the Yeshomim, it means a Davarachim. There's another word Beis of Noim over there. That's something about when somebody is a potter, is building, is making the craft that he's making. So it says that he went down there, so by the area, he went to the potter and he saw that he's doing some kind of work on the Noim. So what is that? Whatever he sits on when he is making something, like some kind of what we call a chamor, a stool that you put your legs on both sides. That's the point it wants to say. The Sadan, I forgot what it's called, the anvil, when he wants to work on something, so then he puts it on both, he puts his legs on both sides of it. Afisha, what is that?
The smithy, what's called the smith, I think, right?
It's called the smith. The smith is not the person.
Smithy is the person. Banger.
So the
On the
Oh, there's an
smith.
anvil,
the thing that is banging on.
He flattens the metal.
Afisha, Yorach Mikal, so too the woman, that's why it's called the birthing chair, it's called like an Avnoyim, because she puts her both thighs on both sides, and the vlad is where it comes out. So that's the birthing process, the birthing chair, or something like that. Anyway, that's why it's called Avnoyim. The pasuk continues, so if it's a boy, you should kill him. Amar Rabbi Chanina, Simon God Masalem. Also, again, this Simon can't be that he's telling the midwife some simple basic thing about birthing. And also, I think it's not that way anymore. So I think that wasn't then that like that either. So it's probably some kind of sotah over here. Simon Muslim, he gave them a big simon to know if it's a boy or a girl. Bain Panav Lamata, Bas Panel Lamala, when they're born, so the boy, his face is downward, and the girl, his face is upward. I don't think that that's the facts nowadays, if it changed, but I think you don't have to say that it changed, because the whole thing doesn't make sense on a simple level, because the king's not going to tell them how to, the things that happen every single time that they see a boy or girl. So it can't be that he's giving them a big simon. So I think there's big some sotah over here. But the pasuk continues. Vatirena Amiyaldos Esa Elohim V'lo Asu Kasher Diber Len Melech Mitzrayim. The midwives feared Hashem, and they didn't do like the king had told them. But the word Alehen is a little strange. Lohen mi boy le. Should have said Kasher Diber Lohen. What's Alehen? It's not the regular way to say it. That he Diber Alehen. That's a lesson that it has a nuance about having relations, that he wanted to have relations with them, and they didn't agree. Even though the king, it's right, very powerful, they didn't agree. So the pashut is that they let live. But the Gemara says that, but the Gemara is saying that Vatachayana sounds more like they're giving them life. Not only that they didn't kill them, but that they gave them life. Not only did they not kill them, but they even gave food and water. They helped them to live. They took care of them even after they were born. But so Paro said, why are you not killing them? So the Miyaka said to Paro, because the Jewish women are not like the Mitzri women. Because they are Hayos. What does that mean? So the Gemara takes it to mean midwives. They're midwives. If they're midwives, does that make a difference? A midwife doesn't need a midwife. Even a midwife needs help when she's giving birth. I would think the pashut shot is that they're all midwives. So the neighbor's a midwife. Since they're all midwives, they all know the malacha. They don't have to call the midwives. They all know it. But the Gemara is talking about as if they themselves don't need it because they themselves are midwife. That the Gemara says can't be, because it doesn't help a midwife to give birth. She has to have somebody else to help her. So they mean not the Gemara is actually not chayos midwives, but animals, and the animals give birth without a midwife. And how do you see that the people, the nation is considered like animals? Yehuda, go Arya Yehuda, Yidan Nachash, Naftali, Ayala Shalucha, Yisachar, Amogorim, Yosef, Hoshor, Binyamin, Zev Yitro. Many of the Shvatim are compared to animals. Either compared to a lion, Dan to a Nachash, Naftali to a deer, Yisachar to a donkey, Yosef to a ox, Binyamin to a wolf. So those, these we mentioned about 6. Yehuda, Dan, Naphtali, Yisachar, Yosef, Binyamin. We mentioned 6. And those that it doesn't say that they're not considered animals, not compared to animals, but there's a general pasuk by all Am Yisrael that your mother is a lion. So all Am Yisrael is considered animals. And in what aspect? That they don't need midwives to give birth. They give birth naturally without having midwives. The pasuk says,
but two of those illusions are behemoth tehor, the deer and the ox. So why are they called chayo? I mean,
no, it doesn't make a difference if they're kosher or not. It says about a nachash and the aryeh also. The point is that they give birth without having any help.
I was thinking that b'chayot are generally expressed as un.
No, you have chayos Torah also. So it says ayalot tzvi v'yachmor, seven kosher ones. Pasuk says vayhi yoram yaldos holem v'yaslam batim. When since they had fear of Hashem, they didn't kill. So Hashem made for them houses. The pasuk would be that they had children, dynasty. They had big families. One says that's referring to the Shvatim of Levi. Cohen came out of them. And one says kahuna, kingship, malchus. Mandam bate kahuna Levia Aaron and Moshe, because they came from Yocheved. This is going to the mother. Yocheved was the mother. So Shifra. So Aaron and Moshe came from them. Madam bate malchus David. Nami Miriam Kasi. David came from Miriam. How do you know? Now the Gemara goes into Pasuk Divrei Hayamim, which is the next daf already, but we'll just do the Pasuk over here. But it's Pasuk Divrei Hayamim, and the Gemara is dashing it all different than the Pasuk Pshat. But Tamas Azuva, Vayikach Lo Kalei Besefros, Vatayla Lo Aschor, Uchsiv David Ben Yeshefrosi. That's the drash. The drash is going to say that Azuva is Miriam and Ephros is Miriam. That's what for our purposes it says Vayikach Lo Kalei Besefros, Kalei, which the Gemara is going to say. We'll see. That's next. The next Gemara tomorrow. We'll talk about more about who Kalev is and who Ephros is. But the more, for our purposes, Ephros is Miriam, and she gave birth, etc. It says that David. The Gemara's pashut is Ephrosi means chashuv, but the Gemara's dashing Ephrosi means from the woman called Ephros. Miriam is Ephros. So you see that David came from Miriam. So according to the drash, we said that Shifra and Pu was Yocheved and Miriam. So but the Kuna Levia came from Yocheved, because she had Aaron and Moshe, and David came from Miriam, who's called Ephros, and you see that from the pasuk in Divrei Hayamim. Yashikar.
Can we make a tzad that we should learn two daf instead of tomorrow, one daf, two daf the next morning? Because if the Pesach, it's very hard. It's like Pesach, it's a busy night.
Yeah, just tomorrow night, if we learn, it would be better, because then I can help my wife.
So maybe in the morning you do two daf.
Again, tomorrow is
Yontif.
Tell nothing is over, so then everybody puts back.
I have a better
so
idea.
it's too hard to learn tomorrow night.
Maybe we do two daf.
We should learn 3 hours.
Let's learn, no, I have a better idea.
Maybe there are-
Let's learn at 1 o'clock in the afternoon or something.